I want to bring in my guest, a good friend of the show, Carl Jia. I brought you on because I saw the story about, I think the name is Li Jianping. Jianping, you can correct me on the pronunciation. But he apparently was caught embezzling $412 million. And whereas in the United States, that's just called good business, a good capitalist. In China, that's called illegal. And he was executed by the state, which is, again, for the US, that is astonishing because corruption is as American as apple pie. And every random blue moon, you get one of these kind of one percenters. But for all intents and purposes, most of the people you're executing are just poor people who might stick up a store and take a few bucks. And because it's a stick up and it's a robbery, that counts as kind of a murder charge. In this case, this was pure embezzlement. And this is the way China effectively deals with corruption. It's don't do this. There will be consequences. Give me your take on this. What is your thoughts on this?
Well, I had to do a double take because normally for corruption, you see a lot of people daily news about corrupt official gets sentenced to death. You see that a lot, but a lot of time if you read the fine print, read the detail, they say they get sentenced to death with a suspended death sentence with 2 years reprieve. What normally happens in those cases is after 2 years, if they are on good behavior in prison, the sentence get commuted to life imprisonment. That's what normally happens. So I had to take a double take when I saw, no, they didn't sentence him. They executed him. So I have to dig in a little deeper to see what happened. So his corruption case is one of the biggest corruption case that has uncovered in recent history. I mean, it's $400 million. It's not a small sum of money, and he's not even a big honcho. He's like he was in charge of developing the special economic zone in the capital of Inner Mongolia. So basically, he's in collusion with the real estate developers, and there's a lot of corruption. But I think when I look at his sentencing a little deeper, he was in fact sentenced to death with 2 years reprieve. Which would mean normally he would serve his 2 years, and the sentence will get commuted to life imprisonment. But he got another sentence thrown at him, which is collusion with a crime syndicate. And it's that additional charge in combination with the corruption that got him. There was no reprieve. There was they combined the sentences. It just became suspended death sentence to real death sentence. And this is why he got executed.
It's a real death sentence.
So he's probably, I'm guessing he's probably in cahoots with some mafia bosses breaking somebody's legs. So that's a little bit more serious than just taking money on the down low. So this is why he's it's actually pretty exceptional in China when the execution do get carried out, because what normally happens is the sentence get commuted to lifetime in prison, and then most of the corrupt officials, they get just rot in jail for the rest of their life. But this guy, I think it's a mafia connection that really got him. But even that is kind of normal in the United States, right? I mean, people like that get to elected, Speaker of the House. I saw a lot of people in U.S. commenting on X. They're posting that Gordon Patterson meme where he says, "Oh Lord Jesus, I see what you've done for other people. Can you please do that for me?"
Oh, because you must understand. Look, I put it to you this way: corruption is so endemic in the U.S., and the public feels like the government doesn't have their back. That the government is effectively working for the side with the most capital. And so for us, we have become so accustomed to just raw, unadulterated corruption that is just suffocating. Like Nancy Pelosi, for example, doing stocks while in Congress is just grotesque. And yet is part of the fabric of the way we operate. These corporations and everything else. If there's a sense that the American public is not, or I'm sorry, the American government is not working in the interest of the American public, that is working in the interest of the people who are paying them. And those people are absolutely right. And so when we see something like this happen, you get a segment of the population that applauds. Like, honestly, like the CEO that just got whacked for the United Healthcare. The majority of the population approves a murder. Like they're like, I mean, you even got to the point where people are like, oh, he's so sexy. We need to forgive. Forgiveness is divine. We need to let him go. I mean, Ted Raw was on the show, and so it was like, if I'm on that jury, that man walks. Like, that's where we are. So you can understand, right, where the majority of the American public looks at that case and say, clean murder. Well, when they look at China and they're actually doing something about corruption, well, you don't have to go to a person taking it upon their hands to be a vigilante, where Chinese government is like, no, we don't tolerate corruption. Full stop. You will get
Jamar, this is why superhero is popular in US. Because we know we cannot count on our government to do the job. So we need vigilantes. We need vigilante to deal justice.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it kind of boils down to, right? Like, is there a difference? There is a difference between China executing somebody for just grotesque corruption and Luigi killing the guy on his own. And I guess the difference is a process of state. One is the country coming together saying corruption is intolerable, and we will take a legal solution to deal with corruption and give a warning to anybody else that's coming behind them that's going to do it, as opposed to the government is not going to do anything about this. The government codifies this, meaning there's no political solution to the issue of the way insurance companies act, deny care, and maximize their profits. And so you get a vigilante that takes it into his own hands. And so it's like, yeah, both people got killed, but there's a difference between a government process that is making a decision based on due diligence and law versus laws that protect these people for fleecing the population, where the population has to take it upon their own self to do it. It's just fascinating.
Jamar, we don't have corruption in the United States. We have transparency. It's called lobbying and campaign financing. Right. It's all above the table, Jamar.
Right.
We have transparency.
It's like you get to know who's buying your politicians. Isn't that a positive thing? That's called democracy. I mean, hell, we even went so far as to say
we can see the price tag of the politicians who got bought by APAC.
Yeah,
we can see how much they're getting paid, and we have politicians like Richie Torres, who's really working for cheap. You know, I like, why are you showing for Israel so hard? They're not even giving you that much money.
$100 million. They spent $100 million just in the primaries alone. It's grotesque. I mean, and then to make this argument that money equals speech. And so the person with the most money can yell the loudest. And it's like, okay, that's not democracy. That's something else. Like that's what I mean when I said this kind of oligarchical system that has been instantiated with laws to protect the system in place.
We have an oligarchy that runs elections in US, Jamar.
Yes.
We have that for a long time now.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, I guess my point is when we see something like this, you will get a segment of the population that applauds the fact that China is being aggressive on this issue of corruption. I mean, I remember the last case where you pointed out, it was like, yeah, but that guy's most likely going to be commuted. And I didn't understand how he could get further charges while in jail. Because I think they said something like execution pending X amount of time.
Right. So what happened is that all the sentences happened together. So for the corruption and taking bribes, that he got the charge of a death sentence with 2 years reprieve. But then he got another sentence of colluding with criminal syndicate, and then they combined the two sentences.
Oh, I see. So that charge took place before he was convicted of the second okay. So he got convicted first, but they merged the two charges together.
Yes. That's what happened.
I see. Yeah. Wow. just fascinating. The differences in the systems and what they allow versus what they don't allow. Um,